Hi guys, we're going to be testing out this Aferiy 2000 watt portable power station and matching solar panels. Stay tuned. Now we love to test anything that we think might be useful for you on this channel, and this has come our way. So this is an Aferiy 2000 watt 1997 watt hour battery, so twice the size of the EcoFlow Delta 2 in capacity terms. This is a 2000 watt power supply, and it's effectively a big portable battery. So if you've not seen one of these before, it's got a built-in inverter, so it does 240 volt output, which if I turn it around here, you can see on the side here you've got 3 main sockets on the side. You can turn that on and off. Obviously nice couple of carry handles on the top. On this side is your inputs for charging, so you can charge it from the mains with 240 volt. And there's also a 12 volt and, well, it's actually a 11.5 to 50 volt input. And that's really important because solar panels vary the amount of voltage that they give out. And this has got a built-in MPPT, and that's basically the special bit of electronics inside it which allows you to connect solar panels up to it, and then it charges the battery off those. So that's where you can plug in a 12 volt. You can charge it off the car as well, so you can put a cigarette lighter in, you can plug it straight into there and charge it as your car or van is going along. Now, as you know, we don't have a van at the minute, so I've come down to somewhere nice in the countryside just so we can sit here and give this a bit of a test. So I've brought with me a few different things that we'd normally have with us, and maybe one that you aren't expecting as well. So I think first things first, we should probably make a cuppa. Now for that, I could have brought a kettle and some water and everything, but I know that you know I like coffee on this channel. So what I've done is I've got some water, and don't tell Sarah, but I have brought with me my trusty Nespresso machine. Now I'm sure she's not going to be very happy about this. Oh, excuse me. Move this over here. Right, so this is a 240 volt one. It's a Magimix one. Just going to plug it in the side of the unit here into its 240 socket. Make sure that the inverter's switched on. There's a button on the side here, so once you've turned the unit on itself, you press that on the side. It's got 30% battery at the minute. We did take this down to Cornwall with us as well to give it a good test, and used it on the beach and kind of used it all over the place really. So I'm just going to pop some water in the tank, pop this on the back, and just going to tell this to warm up. Right, so I've switched it on, told it to warm up. On the display here at the front, it tells me that we've got 1100 watts being consumed out the battery. If you remember, I said we had 30% when we started. So what we're going to do is we're going to let this warm up. I'm going to have a espresso and we'll see how much battery power it uses. So it's just in the process of warming up at the minute. The normal lights are flashing on the top right. So it says it's ready, just like it would do at home. What I am going to do, because I haven't used this for a little while, I'm going to run it through without anything and just to get some water in it. There we go, there's some water coming out. Right, lovely. Get rid of that. Right, pop my espresso capsule in, close all this up, hit go, and as if by magic, we've got lovely espresso. So that's 1180 watts of power that it's using there. So I've pulled a nice Nespresso there, and guess what? It's still on 30%. So not even touch the sides of it doing that. Which is very nice, and let's just check it's warm. That's warm. That's very warm. Right, so just so we don't make a mess, I'm going to move this out the way. So good first test, very capable. So if you're thinking about carrying an espresso machine with you in your van and you're wondering if this Aferiy unit can take it, you bet you. Right, so what have we got next? I think one of the things which can be quite tricky sometimes is e-bikes. And the reason I say it can be tricky is because to charge an e-bike properly using their normal charger, and this is a Bosch charger for one of our e-bike batteries, this is a PowerPack 300 Bosch battery. They're a bit finicky sometimes about the type of inverter that you have. And this has got a pure sine wave inverter built in, which is the right type for this. Some of the cheap inverters that you can get, even though they might be the right power output to be able to do this, they haven't got the right kind of output of AC. So it needs to be a pure sine wave output to do this properly. So what I've done is plugged in our Bosch power adapter. Let's plug it into the battery and let's see what that's going to do. So that's just kicked in. That's taking 200 watts of power. It's obviously charging the battery. I don't know whether you can see that there, but it's flashing away. So that's charging nicely. At 200 watts. So no problem in terms of charging the battery. And at 30% left, this battery thinks it's got 2 hours worth of charging time or power based on running it at 200 watts output. So it's got a little display on the front here which lets you know exactly what kind of output or what kind of length of time you're going to get based on the amount of juice that's being pulled out from it. So that's quite handy to know that you can definitely do that. So get that moved out the way. Before I plug in a couple of other mains things to give it a test, I should just mention on the front here you've got a built-in LED light. It can also flash the SOS signal if you want it to, or you can get it to just flash. So if you were carrying this in the boot or in the garage of your van or anything like that and you had a breakdown or anything, it's just an emergency light. It's quite handy. And to be honest, if you're in the van and you had it near the front somewhere, you could just turn it on just as a bit of lighting as you were just coming into the van. Probably more of an emergency thing than anything. Just on the other main sockets this has got, because it's got loads on here, you've got two 2.4 amp normal USB-A sockets. You've got two USB-A sockets, which are the high power QC3 ones, and then you've got two Type-C sockets, so USB-Cs, and those USB-C sockets support up to, I think it's 100 watts each, and I've certainly charged a MacBook Pro off this at 90 odd watts. No problem whatsoever. So very, very powerful in terms of output. Again, really simple to operate. You just turn it on, turn it off, job done. And then finally, you've got this 12 volt section over here. Now this is fantastic, really, because this is the output section. So this isn't a 12 volt input because that was on the other side. This is 12 volt output. Now it's got a normal cigarette lighter socket there, which is a 10 amp one, 12 volt 10 amp. But it's also got a 12 volt 25 amp. Now that's really important because if you wanted to use this and try to plumb it into your van to be able to charge your leisure batteries, you need something with some grunt. And a 25 amp 12 volt output is really decent. So you could use a 12 volt to 12 volt DC to DC charger from this into your 12 volt leisure batteries in your van, if you wanted to top them up without having to go through the external hookup like some people do. So you're effectively not converting battery power to 240 into the side of the van with a hookup cable down through a charger which is 240 to 12, which is obviously a lot of loss if you try to do that. What you can do with this is you can use the connector which is inside here, so a special connector inside there, standard connector though, and then wire that into a plug in the van into a 12 volt to 12 volt DC to DC charger, and that's the way that you could do it. Because if you bought something like a Victron Energy one, you can control in the software how much power that takes as well, so you don't end up drawing too much off this. So again, a really decent potential solution. And then obviously when you pair this with the solar panels, you could charge this up during the day with solar panels. If you haven't got solar on your van, then if you needed to top your van batteries up, your leisure batteries, you could do it using that high power 12 volt port. Very impressed with that, I have to say. Right, let's get on with a bit more of the 240 stuff then. So Sarah's really not going to be happy with me after all of this. Right, so Sarah's hairdryer then. Let's plug this in. So she takes this one with her everywhere in the van, plug it in, and I'm not going to be surprised when this works, but... So I'll just put that out the way. So that is 1300 watts, no problem at all, no issue whatsoever. And I tell you what, let's just plug in for good measure that e-bike battery at the same time, because there is 3 sockets on here. So just see how that starts to draw power off. Okay, we're at 1500 watts now with both of those running. So yeah, doing okay. Absolutely no sweat whatsoever. Right, let's unplug both of those then. Now, one thing I should say about this supply here is that there's no app for it, so it doesn't have Bluetooth, it doesn't have Wi-Fi. It's quite a simple unit really, but I think that plays in its favour. Now, in terms of cost, this does come in cheaper than most other units, so do check in the description below for all of the links and discount codes and all of that sort of stuff. But when you compare this price-wise with other units, it is cheaper. So I think keeping it simple really works for this unit. You can just charge it up using any method you like, just 240 volt in, 12 volt in, solar in, no issue whatsoever. It also comes with a handy little pouch for all your cables and other bits and pieces. So in here, things like your normal mains lead that you'd charge it with. It comes with a solar connection cable as well. The 12 volt charging cable is an optional extra, but they're not very expensive at all, and definitely worth having. And another nice touch actually, which is extra on all the other ones that I've seen, is a rain jacket. So this is a little raincoat here, which if I just open it out, so it's elasticated around the bottom, so you can pop it over the top. It's very slippery though, but effectively, yeah, there you go. So you can pop it over the top like that, because the unit itself isn't waterproof, but with a cover like that, then it starts to make a bit more sense. So if you're trying to charge it and things, just bear in mind, not waterproof, but definitely worth thinking about the cover itself. Although I haven't tested that in the rain, so you best do that if you get one of these. Right, I think there's one more test before we go and test the solar panels for this. And because we've arrived here in an EV, I think we should give this a test at charging the EV then and see what happens there. Now, for that, I have got with me my trusty Volvo charging cable, which is a bit of a beast in itself. One hell of a cable on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug that in the side. Oh, that's a good sign. We've got a light on it already. And if it wasn't so tangled, let's just untangle this a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this in the side of the car and see what happens. So no power going out of it as yet, but let's see what happens when I plug this in. Okay, so I have plugged, let's just reset this. Right, so I've plugged it in. Right, well that was a bit of a surprise. I was expecting that to do that because the power of this unit is perfectly capable of charging that with the charger here. But when I plugged the charger in, it didn't actually want to even start the charge. So it wasn't like a power overload thing or anything like that. I suspect it's down to an earthing. I would imagine that that charging cable probably is looking for a ground or a decent earth, and because this is a portable unit in its own right, it probably can't supply that. So I suspect that's what the issue is there. But it's a good test nonetheless. If you know exactly why that little scenario didn't work, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to know. Right, I think it's time then for us to nip off, seeing as the sun's out, and test this with the solar panels. So let's go. Right, I've been waiting for the sun to come out, and finally, here it is. And the reason I've been waiting for that is because we've also got these, a set of solar panels to test. So what you get is effectively it's 4 panels folded up inside here. It's kind of like a fabric case. You've got a pocket on the back here, which if I open that up, you can see that's where your cables are inside. So you've got all these nice easy cables to connect up, just one plug straight in. And there's also, if you can see it there is a really handy little couple of USB-A sockets and a USB-C. So if you don't want to plug this into your portable power station, you can just charge your phone or your iPad or anything like that straight off these solar panels. Right, let's get these set up, orientated towards the sun, which is directly behind the camera. That's why I'm squinting a bit. And then let's get that power pack out here and see what it generates. These should deliver 200 watts in direct sun. It's just past midday, so it's about, what, 4:30, something like that. So let's see what it does. Right, so I'm just going to plug this in. So you just need to grab this particular cable here. Just goes into the side. Oh, get this the right way around. There we go. So this is the input side. So you've got a couple of sockets here. So your 240 volt mains charging, or this one here where you can plug the solar in. And then, heard it beep. Let's have a look. The sun typically just gone behind a cloud. So at the moment, 41 watts. But that said, it's a bit cloudy, so let's give it a second and hopefully the sun will come straight back out, and then let's see what we get. So as you can see here, we've got the solar panels. They're generating 193, 194 watts. This is at kind of late afternoon, so the sun's certainly not as strong as it could be. So certainly it looks like these panels would be capable of 200 watts at least with the sun at midday. But we have to take what we've got, and it's late in the afternoon, but they're still generating well. So I think that's pretty good. Right, well, these panels have been delivering a cracking 200 watts into our portable power station, but I think it's time to get them away. So let's just show you how easy this is to put away these solar panels. So all you do is you literally just grab each panel, fold them up, little leg on the back of each one which velcros in place. So you just fold them up like that, fold that flap over there, and then on the back here you've got your pocket for all your cables. So literally just unplug it, fold up your cables just in your hand, just like that, and then you can pop those straight back in there. Job done, really easy. Let's just have a think then. Is there anything I don't like about this unit? A little bit. So I don't particularly like how dim the display is. It's fine. You look with your eyes, it's fine. If it's in direct sun, so if it's nice and sunny outside, you're looking at the panel on the front, you have to kind of really squint at it a little bit to see what's going on, or kind of shadow it with your hand and things. So it's not a big deal, but it's just a little bit annoying. It would be nice if it was just a little bit brighter. I think probably the only other thing I'd say, and the unit, it's not really the unit's fault, it's just how it is it's quite heavy. So I think this is just over 20 kilos. And you know, when you're trying to move it around, it's pretty heavy. So it's kind of a consequence of the size of battery that it's got. But you know, that comes with the territory. If you want a nice, good power reserve, you're going to need to have a big battery. And at the moment, current technology, it's going to be a bit heavy. And these have got LFP batteries in. So it's got the it's got LifePo 4 batteries in, which are the ones which have got a really good lifespan. So these have got roughly 3,500 charge cycles that they can support. So a huge amount of life in these batteries before they start to have any kind of degradation. So I think, you know, really, in general terms, this is a cracking unit. It really is. And that simplicity of it, so no apps, no Bluetooth, no Wi-Fi, just nice and simple. Oh, and I should say as well, I've never heard the fans come on this. Never. It's always been silent. It's got fans. I've never heard them kick in with anything we've ever tested on it. So whether it's charging at 1200 watts, whether you're pulling 1200 watts out of it, we've used this on our air fryer at home, which really gives it a good thrashing. You know, that's about 2000 watts solid, which it's using while the air fryer warms up, and then it pulses on and off. Never once has the fan kicked in on this, where I have to say on the EcoFlow Delta 2 that we've got, they make a lot of noise actually. So when it's charging or when you use it with any kind of power, it does make a lot of noise, but it is a lot lighter. So I think if you're in the market for a good value, simple, high quality actually, because of the batteries inside here, portable power supply, you can't really go wrong with this Aferiy unit. Link in the description below. Hopefully you found this video useful. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you again soon for some more Campervan Time.